Hello, welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Thelma Okoro. Militants in the Niger Delta region have again attacked an oil facility in Nigeria. This time, the militants hit an oil facility owned by Nigeria's state oil company, the NNPC. A militant group called Niger Delta Avengers on Friday claimed responsibility for the attack. In a tweet, the group confirmed the attack, warning it was ready to shock the world with more attacks. The attack, which has not been confirmed by the NNPC, comes just a day after the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ibe Kachiko, announced that Nigeria and the government and stakeholders from the Niger Delta region have resolved to work together to stop the attacks. The attacks in Niger's southern region have pushed the country's crude oil output to a 22-year low. Nigeria's Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Chukwu Buratai, says some of the Fulani herdsmen causing havoc in Enugu, Benue and Ekiti states may have linked to Islamic group Boko Haram. Buratai was speaking during a visit to the governor of Ogun State, Ibukunle Amosun. He said the army has successfully pushed back the Boko Haram sect, but also warned the sect may be seeking to cause more havoc in the northeast region. The army chief therefore called on Nigerians to be vigilant and report any suspicious activities or persons around their neighborhoods. Ministers of the Federal Republic of Niger met with members of the Broadcasting Organization of Niger Born as the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari marks its first year in office. The meeting, which was attended by 5 ministers of the Federation, was focused on finding ways to fix the country's economic doldrums. During the meeting, the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, defended President Muhammadu Buhari's 1 year in office, insisting that the government was on the right track, while the Ministers of Trade, Okechukwu Enelema, and the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, both highlighted the key areas the government would need to improve the economy.
To what extent has the administration fulfilled its electoral promises? My answer is simple. We're on track. Recall that we campaigned on 3 major issues: tackling insecurity, fighting corruption, and revamping the economy. Any dispassionate observer of the activities of government in the past 1 year will admit that the administration has made great strides towards fulfilling its promises. As I've said at many fora, our economy, or whatever is left of it after years of serious mismanagement and massive corruption, is in a very bad state. Throw into the mix the huge fall in oil price, and you have nothing but a disaster of an economy. But then this government is aware that it was not elected to make excuses, but to put the nation back to work. Put the nation on a sound economic footing, and ensure the security of lives and properties, and banish corruption. We have therefore decided to turn the disaster that we inherited into a blessing by diversifying the economy away from the monoproduct of oil, leveraging on agriculture and solid minerals, as well as culture and tourism. Let me assure Nigerians that the change we promise is real, despite the tough situation we are in at the moment.
We won't say diversifying the economy. We basically mean getting all the other sectors beyond the oil and gas sector to become part of the economy. I mean, just to put it in perspective for you, oil is a little over 10% of the GDP of Nigeria, but contributes over 90% of the foreign exchange earnings and over 75% of the revenues of government. So when we say diversifying the economy, it's not just grammar. What we're saying is that like 10% of the GDP, which is the total economy, shouldn't be the part that is providing the revenues on which government operates or the foreign exchange on which the country runs. Therefore, in order to do diversify, we need to support all the other industries to develop. And supporting them means that, like, first, we're encouraging local production. And secondly, we're also encouraging exports beyond oil. And this Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan has a clear strategy for doing that. And it's a sectoral plan, meaning that the plans are to be worked sector by sector.
How do we get back on track? I think the first thing is to hold on to the successes that have been made in the area of security, because the Minister of Trade has spoken about the enabling environment. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, if you went out of this country to do business, nobody was really emphasizing the risk of insecurity, but it has become an issue. And even locally, contractors have folded up because they have lost personnel. So the gains that we have made in terms of security now provide an opportunity for us to replace bomb makers with brick builders, to replace bombings with buildings, and to get development back on track. And that is one big step towards rebuilding the economy. As far as, therefore, my ministries are concerned, they are critical ministries for rebuilding the economy. As far as power is concerned, our roadmap is to get incremental power first, move from there to steady power, and move from there to uninterrupted power. And I will discuss the details as they come. But that is the compass I think I would like us to talk about. As far as works and particularly roads are concerned, what we want to first achieve is connectivity of roads. Not all our roads are bad. I've traveled some of the roads. I continue to travel them as much as time permits me so that I know them firsthand. What you will see are failed sections of long stretches of road. If you repair those failed sections, maybe a 100-kilometer road, 20 or 30 has really deteriorated and failed, so you don't have connectivity. If you repair the failed section, you re-establish connectivity, and that's the first thing we want to achieve. The second thing, then consequently we hope to achieve, is reduce the journey time and the cost of transportation, so that you will burn less fuel, you will save more time, and this will impact the cost of transporting goods and services, and this can only be positive for our economy.
We've decided that we're going to go into the area of blue-collar job. The blue-collar jobbers are those who use their hands, have a skill, have a vocation. What are these skills and this vocation? When we're going to construct railways, we will need the carpenters. We will need the welders to weld. We will need the plumbers, the joiners. When we are in the construction industry, building, you need the tilers, you need the mason and bricklayer, you need the POP molders, you need the carpenters, you need people who lay marbles, granites, and bricks.
President of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Aiboje Aj Imokwede, has been speaking about the 1 year of the Muhammadu Buhari administration. The NSC president said while the government has made remarkable achievements in the areas of security and the fight against corruption, it is still struggling to get a grip on the Nigerian economy.
There are a number of priorities that the government has put forward. And I think that if you recall the fact that on the news of the election results as well as the swearing in, the markets went up. So that means that there is a lot of goodwill, if you like, that those who are elected, bring to the investing public. And part of that goodwill, I believe, is a belief that the issue of security will be addressed and also that the issue of corruption will be addressed. Those are two pluses, certainly, over the last 365 days. I think the area of economic policy, which is less of an issue at the presidential level and more of an issue at the, if you like, ministerial and executive council level, as well as, of course, the monetary policy, which is in the hands of the Independent Central Bank. I'm not sure that the markets have reacted as positively, to that aspect of the performance of the overall machinery of government.
The NSE president also spoke about the recent rebound in the stock market.
When you see, for example, an oil price reduction of the type we saw, as an investor, it raises concerns and you ask the question, what will be the consequence of this oil price fall? Okay? So the natural position of the investor, domestic or international, is to wait for the policy response. Okay? Now, if, for example, the policy response is delayed, if the policy response in the eyes of the investor is inadequate or inappropriate, okay, then, you know, you get jittery and it affects the confidence of the investor. And of course, there is a heightened expectation that the returns that you are anticipating will not be what you want. And therefore, you might take things like sell your position, exit your position, exit the market. This is just what happens naturally. Now, if you have certainty in the form of a policy framework that you believe in, okay, and you are confident of the ability, for example, of the policymakers or if you like, even the economic operators, you know, to respond favorably to that policy, then you invest. So what you are seeing now is that there is greater certainty as a result of the fact that you have a budget. There's greater certainty in the monetary policy direction. So there is a belief that the challenges that the Nigerian economy faces, whether as a result of exogenous factors, you know, or the internal challenges, you know, we can overcome them. And that's why the market is going up.
Minister of Finance Kemi Adeosun says the federal government is being cautious at the plans to invest the over 6 trillion naira pension funds. The minister said this when she appeared before the House of Representatives as part of its ongoing sectorial debate on diversification on the Nigerian economy. The minister also said that the federal government has set up a committee to look into the financial impact of waivers that have been given by the government. Abdullahi Salami, the lawmaker representing Gwadaba Ilela Federal Constituency of Sokoto State, has dismissed insinuations that his controversial pro-Sharia bill is aimed at expanding the Islamic legal system across a secular Nigeria. According to Salami, the bill is actually designed to protect Christians from wanton attacks in northern Nigeria. The bill had come under intense criticism, especially from Christian lawmakers who have issued strong-worded statements reprimanding non-Muslim lawmakers for allowing the legislation to go through. However, Salami has said his legislation only seeks to alter the constitution to give Sharia courts of appeal the jurisdiction to hear criminal cases in Sharia-compliant states. The Rivers State Police Command says 5 of its officers are missing after they were ambushed by unknown gunmen at Okujagu waterways in Okrika local government area of the state. The State Police Public Relations Officer Ahmad Mohammed said the policemen were on a routine police inquiry when they were attacked. He, however, noted that one of the policemen, Inspector Aferan Imokwede, has been rescued. According to him, 53 suspects have so far been arrested. Onyechi Ikpeazu, the lead counsel to former national spokesperson of the People's Democratic Party, Olisa Meto, has said his client is prepared to refund the 400 million naira he received from the Office of the National Security Advisor to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Meto is facing a 7-count charge of criminal breach of trust and money laundering to the tune of 400 million naira. Ikpeazu said his client was willing to refund the money to the EFCC right from when the anti-graft agency invited him for questioning before charges were filed against him. Nigeria President Muhammadu Buhari has reassured the economic community of West African states ECOWAS that the country will continue to meet all its obligations to the Commission. Speaking while receiving the new president of the Commission, Marcel Alain de Souza, at the presidential villa in Abuja, President Buhari said his government will also strive to show a good example to others by meeting all its financial obligations to the sub-regional organization. De Souza also commended President Buhari for Nigeria's recent successes in the war against terrorism and insurgency. He noted that with terrorist attacks spread to countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire and others, security had to be recorded more priority by ECOWAS. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, John Odige Oyegun, has faulted calls for investigation into the funding of the party's 2015 presidential campaign, which brought President Muhammadu Buhari to power. Speaking on a program titled The Encounter with Constance Ikowu, Oyegun said it was wrong to ask the EFCC to investigate the sources of funding for the APC campaign because, unlike the PDP, his party did not use public money to fund its presidential campaign. President Muhammadu Buhari won the March 28 presidential election, defeating Goodluck Jonathan of the People's Democratic Party. The funding of the presidential campaign of the PDP is currently under investigation by the EFCC. The Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party has asked all its members who have instituted cases against the party in court to withdraw them immediately. The leadership crisis rocking the party took another dimension on Tuesday when counter-court orders restrained the parlor leaders from assuming the mantle of leadership of the party. In one case, a federal high court sitting in Port Harcourt granted an interim injunction restraining the immediate past national chairman and national secretary of the party from parading themselves as national officers of the party. But in a counter ruling, a federal high court in Lagos declared as invalid the caretaker committee constituted to take over the affairs of the PDP from its acting national chairman, Ali Modu Sheriff. However, in a memo after his meeting, the PDP board ordered that all court cases must be withdrawn. Children's Day is an event celebrated in many places around the world. In Nigeria, May 27 is a day set aside to celebrate children, and this year wasn't an exception. An NGO known as SPAN, that is Society for Performing Arts in Nigeria, celebrated with children of St. Paul's School, Lagos Island, by organizing a music and dance fest. The children between the ages of 4 to 15 were eager to take part in some of the dance routines. Also said though acceptance is a gradual process, it was still having a bit of a hard time getting people to fully embrace dance and music as a career path.
It is what we do yearly. It's part of our community service where we use the performing arts to touch the society from down up. So we do that to do a lot of community service in places like Ajegule as well. So since we're here right now, our school is bordering a public primary school. So we made it a policy to celebrate with them every 27th of May.
Oh well, dance has been a passion for me. It's what I love to do. I will do it all day without getting tired.
Well, I must say at the beginning it was very tough, very tough. It was challenging because parents in the Nigerian environment see dance as a hobby at the very most. They just feel that you just dance and that's the end. It's never a career path that any parent will choose for their child. But now things are changing. Being that the world is a global village now, people are getting to see where dance is at the global, sphere. So now, even for us in Nigeria, because that idea is flowing in generally, they now see people on TV dancing and earning good money.
You've been watching TV360 News Now. We'll take a short break and we'll come back. We'll look at business and international. Don't go away.
Every day, every hour, and every minute, news break in Nigeria. Things happen so fast, it's most times difficult to track and comprehend them. But that's what we do right here on TV360. 2015, would you want to come back again?
It's like asking Jesus Christ if he knew he was going to die, will you want to come back as the savior of the world again?
We do not just help you track the stories, we break them down, explore all the angles, analyze the issues so that you can fully comprehend the stories and use them to make the right decisions.
Welcome back. You're watching TV360 News Now. The Naira weakened further against the United States dollars on the parallel market, trading at $3.50 to the dollar from $3.40 to a dollar last week. It, however, continued to trade around the peg rate of $1.97 to the dollar on the official interbank market. The fall comes just days after the CBN said it would adopt a more flexible exchange rate policy. However, analysts say Nigeria's Naira is expected to trade cautiously as currency traders and investors are with clarity from the CBN on its latest foreign exchange policy. Oil futures slipped in Asian trade on Friday. This came after the prices hit resistance at the $50 a barrel mark as investors worried higher prices could reactivate shuttered crude oil output, adding to a global oversupply. Brent crude fell 34 cents to $49.25 per barrel, while U.S. crude dropped 31 cents to $49.17 per barrel. A string of outages such as wildfires in Canada, unrest in Nigeria and Libya knocked out nearly 4 million barrels per day of production. A meeting of the oil producers cartel, that's OPEC, on June 2nd may give further direction to oil markets. A Ugandan High Court sentenced 5 people to life in prison on Friday for involvement in the 2010 bomb attacks that killed 76 people assembled to watch a soccer match on television. Justice Alphonse Owini-Dolo also sentenced another 2 people found guilty to 50 years in jail each, while a third person was sentenced to community service for a year because he had stayed in remand longer than the 3 years he would have served for being an accomplice. U.S. President Barack Obama has become the first 7 U.S. presidents to visit Hiroshima since the World War II nuclear attack. In his address, Obama said the memory of 6 August 1945 must never fade, but he did not apologize for the U.S. attack, which is the world's first nuclear bombing. He spoke to a number of survivors, and in an address, he called on nations to pursue a world without nuclear weapons. At least 140,000 people died in Hiroshima, and another 74,000 2 days later in the second bombing in Nagasaki. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) has slammed a 5-year ban on embattled Chris Giwa and 4 others. This was disclosed in a letter which was signed by CAF Secretary General Hicham El Amrani and copied to NFF's President Amaju Pinnick. The 4 others affected by the continental ban are Muazu Suleiman, Yahaya Adama, Sani Fema, and Johnson Effiong. Head coach of the Nigerian under-23 team, Samson Siasia, has selected 20 players made up of 12 home-based and 8 overseas-based players for next month's Suwon Invitational Tournament in Korea Republic. The list is dominated by players who featured against the Brazil under-23 in a friendly in that country 2 months ago. Nigeria won that match by 1-0. 2 new faces, Emiloju Julius and Abdurrahman Taiwo, were introduced to the team, while winger Xavier Godwin makes a return to the team after a long absence. The tournament will be used to prepare for the team for August Olympic Games in Rio, Brazil. 9-time French Open champion Rafael Nadal has pulled out of the French tournament on Friday, citing an injury to his left wrist. He made the announcement a day before he would be scheduled to play in the 3rd round. Nadal, a 14-time major singles winner, had a rough season in 2015 when he failed to win any of the 4 majors for the first time in a decade after coming off an injury-related break at the end of 2014. He, however, is optimistic he will be fit for the start of Wimbledon on June 27, 2016. Well, that's all we have on News Now. Thank you very much for watching. I am Thelma Okoro.